Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. Today I've asked Graeme Holm to come back. Those of you that remember back in January, it's taken me this long to get him back because he's such a busy guy. Back in January, I did a two-part series with him. The first one was, Who Are You? The second one was How to Pay Your Mortgage Off in 7 years. So I don't want to go through all of that again. What I want to do is go through some of the pain points that people are feeling at the moment. And full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, I am a client of Infinity. I joined Infinity back in 2020, did nothing for a year. In 2021, Graeme grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and said, what have you got? I won't go into the full story, but essentially took 9 badly performing properties, and everyone's going to sit there and go, oh, well, you're doing really well. No, hang on a second, guys. You can have one doing badly. You can have none and doing badly in your own life. It's just a number. I'm explaining it because where we are today is very different from where we started. That's what I want to unpack today for all of you out here, because Graeme, he's like the Robin Hood of the finance industry, if you like. He's my financial Robin Hood. Why? Because the financial system is broken. The banks want your money. And by the way, the top 4 banks in last year, I think their profit was about 32 billion, B for billion. And one of the things that Graeme is doing is he's fighting the battle for the everyday punter. Now, another full disclosure, there could be a bit of swearing. If he gets a bit excited, could be some swearing. So if you've got children around, block their ears. Nothing is off the table today. I've asked Graeme to come back. He generally, authentically cares. He's told me in the past the system is broken. He wants to un-F the system to make sure that everyday Australians understand how to get ahead, understand how to budget, and that budget is not a swear word, but how to budget properly, how to fix themselves up financially, because right now a lot of you are really scared about the way forward. You're all reading mainstream media. You're all listening to it and believing in it. I was on a call with you, Graeme. You do something every week on a Tuesday.
I do.
And I was there on Tuesday. You asked me to come on and tell my story. I love it sometimes, Graeme. They turn around and they say, she's a paid actress. No, I'm real. Those of you that know me, I'm that gold lady. There were over 4,000 people on there. That tells me, Graeme, that there's a lot of pain out there. So welcome back to Making Money Matter. We're going to make property matter, but more importantly, it's not just property. It is actually about making money matter and about making everyday Australians understand that they don't know what they don't know.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, Kez. Thanks for having me back. And sorry it's taken so long. And as you just said there, I do really care. So we've been booked this has been booked in so many times. And I'm like, hey, I'm just saying, a lot of I'm just sitting with such and such I'm so sorry they've said something and we're down a 4-hour rabbit hole. We'll have to reschedule, and it's happened again and again. So thank you for being patient, and thank you for getting me back, and appreciate that there's some value in here for some of your audience. I hope we can give them some more nuggets of gold today. But you are right, to get 4,000 people on what I try to do is a weekly free financial literacy around mortgages and real estate. And I've had thousands, and my team are really struggling. We've had thousands of DMs on social media. And I've had to stop doing them weekly, Kerry, because I go to live events and I don't see 4,000 people in a room.
No.
But you nailed it. Like, the cost of living pressures right now, interest rates, people are struggling. Now, the sad thing is they're struggling because they're misinformed, they're ill-advised, and that has actually become the mural on their wall. Now, I want to talk about the mural on the wall for a second. Money has nothing to do with money. And when we grow up, money is all within our head and our heart, Kerry. And you know this yourself. So our belief systems form very young, like money doesn't grow on trees, and money's the root of all evil, and easy come, easy go, and put it away for a rainy day. And these things, I call it like a chalkboard. So when you're 5, 7, 9, mum and dad or nan and pop say something and it goes on your chalkboard, like money doesn't grow on trees, and no, we can't afford it, right? Or don't ask. And then as you develop and something else happens in your teenage years, it goes from a chalkboard to a whiteboard. And then that forms into a whiteboard with a permanent marker. And before we know it, when we're 18, 20s, or moving out of home and forming relationships and building financial habits, it actually becomes overnight, it pops up like a Banksy masterpiece on the wall. And it is painted on to that brick wall, 4 or 5 stories high, like a billboard. And
Yeah.
sadly, Kerry, we can't break down that wall. We can't get a ladder high enough. We subconsciously, competently believe what the neighbors told us, what our best friend's mum or dad told us, what mum and dad told us. And that is our financial acumen, i.e., listening to the head chef of the barbecue mafia. And what's really sad is, whilst there are great financial advisors, accountants, and mortgage brokers out there, there are also some very average ones, like any industry. So you go to 6 different doctors, you probably get 4 to 5, maybe 6 different diagnoses for the same illness or ailment. So I just think that it's really critical right now that people invest in themselves, and they do, as 4,000 people did the other night. You were on there, but I just want to say to people, if you're investing in yourself and you're smart enough to tune into somebody like Kerry's channel and learn about resources and real assets and gold, or to my channel about lending and real estate, make sure you see it through and don't let people pull you down,
Mm.
because Australia has a massive tall poppy issue. And we have an even more serious issue that everything's too good to be true, and it's a scam, rort bullshit. And Kerry, you, as a client of mine and a dear friend now, you firsthand watch this. You watch a chat bar as a panelist and a host with, out of 4,000 people, there's always 400 absolute fucking flogs. Sorry, but
Well,
there's
actually, I
always,
forgot to say right at the start that you have a no dickheads policy, or did I
well,
say that?
no,
But
we
there
did
are
give him
some.
you gave him a language warning, but we very much have a no dickheads policy. And it's really critical that people invest in themselves right now. If interest rates were to go up, a lot of people will fall over right now. And inflation, economy, we've printed so much money. You and I talked about this in COVID. Like, put your hand out. There's trillions of dollars. I just talked to Kiyosaki about it. Like, there's so much money being printed
Hmm.
that everyone can get out and have a crack if they've got the information and the work ethic. But a lot of us are just sticking our head in the sand. We really are sticking our head in the sand. And some of us that have our heads in the sand are the most vocal. Like in Australia, if you've got a property, you're a real estate guru. And if you've got a loan, you're a mortgage guru. You know, so have you got a budget? Everyone goes, well, I say, and do you stick to it? And they're like, well, kind of sometimes. Like, if you don't have a budget, sorry, if you have a budget and you don't stick to it, you don't have a fucking budget. So, look, I find it intriguing. I'm really actually, Kerry, and you used a good word, the Robin Hood there. I'm really concerned that there's nobody banging the drum or waving the flag for the everyday Aussie battler. Mid socioeconomic, mum's got a full-time job or part-time, dad's got a job, right? Parents have got jobs, kids, school fees, dog food, like sport, like, and they're struggling right now. Who's banging that drum? Who's waving that flag?
Well, I was going to ask you that because we had, who was it? Aussie John, because he did that. What is it? We'll save you.
Ha, come to Aussie, we'll save you. But hang on, he sold Aussie to Conbank,
Oh, did
sorry,
he?
Commonwealth Bank, yeah, a long time ago. So come to
Oh,
Aussie, we'll save you until I sell to a bank. But good on him for having the marketing. And his home's for sale on Sydney Harbour for about $200 million. So well done. Now, good on him, good
yeah.
business, good service, congratulations. But he's not really that industry titan anymore, waving the flag to say, come to Aussie, we'll save you. You go to Aussie, you go on a Conbank.
Okay. Okay.
So we've lost those key figures to wave the flag for everyday people in Australia right now, and that scares me. But what scares me more is there's a survey going around. I was talking about this yesterday on a podcast with somebody, that the Salvos have gone around and done a survey, and about 50% of the people that they've surveyed are skipping a meal at the moment due to financial constraint.
50%?
Out of the people surveyed. Now, I don't know what suburbs or
Hey,
demographics or
sure.
where that survey was completed,
Bloody
but
hell.
that means somebody's going, I'm going to skip breakfast today, or I'm going to skip lunch or dinner. 50%. Now, they could have done it in a wealthy area, affluent. They could have done it in a troubled area. I'm not sure of where that
Mhm.
data's from, but
Mhm.
it's by the Salvo. Someone can look it up. But what scares me, Kerry, is out of that as well. If I was to get those people's bank accounts,
Oh, yeah.
and I was to look at how many mocha choca lattes they bought,
Yeah.
how many times they bought breakfast, lunch, or dinner or drive through because we're busy, and do they meal prep or not? And do they buy any brand name clothes? Does that make sense? So out of
100%.
that, what scares me is our lack of ability to control, measure, and manage ourselves
Yeah.
is actually what's creating this circumstance post-COVID. We all
Created by these, right?
correct.
Created by these because it's so easy for them to, first of all, want to keep up with the Joneses. And second of all, I can just get Uber Eats. The kids need to go to bed. I don't want to cook tonight.
Yep.
That's a computer in your hand. And also, I think social media is just making people think that they've got to keep up, and they don't.
Well,
And
no one's on social media crying and saying, "Woe is me, I'm broke. How bad is life?" Right now, I think people would tune into that more than people pretending to be rich with rented Lambos and like fancy cars. But
yeah,
I mean, the truth of it is, people are struggling. But we're struggling. You're right, because we're trying to keep up with the neighbor or the next door or the friend and family. When if we actually sat down, grabbed some highlighters, grabbed an orange or pink for bad and a green for good, and printed old school and went through 3 to 6 months bank statements, most of us would vomit. How do I know? I asked 4,000 people to do it on Tuesday night. We had over 1,000 people send DMs within 24 to 48 hours going, thank you, thank you, thank you. You've just saved our whole financial position. We weren't aware of what we were spending. And it's like,
amazing.
it's amazing, Kerry, because you're spending it. How can you not be aware what you're
I tell you why,
spending?
Graeme. I'll tell you why they're not aware. Because what they do is they go, as you say, tap taparoo,
Yep.
and they have no clue. And I say this to people all the time. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm passionate. People say, oh, you want cash is only for the criminals and all that. No, I take cash out on a Sunday. That's my budget for the week. And when I cannot see any cash in my account, I don't have any money left. So it might be a very quiet weekend. But all you guys out there, this is what you do. You tap away and you actually have no clue. And
Tap
I think,
taparoo, live in a zoo. That's what it feels like anyway.
yeah, and one of the things I want to ask you is, why is it, Graeme, in Australia we have such a lack of financial literacy? Why is it that we get taught what is it? Pigrams or whatever it is.
Like Pythagoras theorem,
That's it.
we get taught Archimedes screw, we get taught Pythagoras theorem, we get taught E equals M. Like we get taught all this crap, Kez. What's fun? I mean, I remember at school studying George Orwell's Animal Farm,
Mm-hmm.
like political satire and Cold War, all this, and then they allowed them to start studying Star Wars and made it more day to day that kids were interested in and all crazy crap, right? But the memorization of answers in a textbook is
Yep.
not an education. Now,
Correct.
I'm talking to teachers daily who are becoming clients and asking for help with the education system, where they're like, we're actually not allowed, like it's not our responsibility to teach financial literacy. So they teach addition and subtraction and multiplication and algebra and these complex equations and formulas that we'll never use again.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not actually, as an education system, interested and really embedded and locking down financial literacy.
Correct.
Like I'm talking like, hey, if you borrow $500,000 at 6.5%, over 30 years, you're going to pay back 1,137,000. That's a
Just
real life.
just do that again. Just because I love the you are a numbers guy as well, because one of the things that you often say is stick to math, not emotion. But just do those numbers for us again, because I think that needs to sink in.
So a $500,000 home loan today, over 30 years at 6.5%, depending on the bank and fees and charges, will cost $1,137,000 and a few cents, few $100. Now, if you do the math, Kerry, which I have done, and this is a very current, real example for a lot of people getting a home or unit with 500 grand of debt, you're borrowing 500, which you're repaying. You're also then paying an additional $637,000.
So more than the original loan.
Yeah, but here's the problem. That's not 6.5%. That's 127% over 30 years, roughly. So is home ownership the great Australian dream or the great Australian rort?
Why are they being rorted so badly? And why don't people understand now? I know that banks do like confusion. Look, I'm not here to bash the banks. Well, maybe I
Well, I am.
am. You can bash the banks. And I know, and I think you're passionate about this because you say they don't explain things very well.
Yeah, so
They
banks
like to
banks
make
know
profit.
there's money in confusion. So let's just rip back the curtain.
Okay.
Banks know there's money in confusion, right?
Mhm.
The products have fancy names. They give us things like offset accounts that didn't exist for our parents and grandparents, yet they pay their homes off. Yet we give this perception is reality. Oh, offset accounts will help you. If you spend everything you earn and you're struggling, you're not offsetting shit. But you keep talking about offset accounts, yeah? So banks are very well structured knowing this. This is what we're taught. We are taught to get the lowest possible rate over the longest possible time,
Yes.
give us the lowest minimum monthly, weekly, or fortnightly payment. Does that make sense? So, i.e., if you're at $2,500 a month and you're 5 years into your loan, and somebody comes and says, "Hey, I can get you from 2,500 to 2,100." Wouldn't you love to save $400 a month or $100 a week? And the banker or broker goes, "Oh, I can save you $5,200 a year." That's a fucking lie, Kerry. Because if you're 5 years down the hill in a 30-year loan and you've had interest calculated daily and you go back and start again for 30 years and you owe a bit less, of course it's $100 a week less. You've now got a 35-year mortgage. And this is the problem. People think refinancing saves money. It's
Mm.
actually completely wrong and it should be illegal because interest is calculated daily. The longer the period of time the bank can charge and calculate and charge you interest, the more you pay. The
Wow.
shorter the term, the shorter interest can be calculated and charged. Therefore, everyone that tunes into this should not be looking for the lowest possible minimum repayment. I want people to take this approach. Let's change minimum repayment to the term maximum profit
Wow.
because the minimum repayment in the contract that you're trying to get lower, 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 it's like limbo. How low can you go? Equals the maximum bank profit over the term. So I don't like the word minimum repayment. I call it maximum bank profit, MBP.
MVP. Okay.
MBP, maximum bank profit. Now people go, oh, but I pay fortnightly or weekly or I pay an extra No, you do not
Makes
have
no difference.
savings if you have debt.
Yep.
And why do you not put every cent you earn into the mortgage so it's out of sight, out of mind? You're going to need free unlimited redraw. And I'm sick of hearing like brokers, oh, but some banks don't use a bank that takes it off you. That's not free unlimited redraw. Like people, even in my industry, are so manipulated and wrong as just sales agents for banks. They haven't taken the time to invest in their own literacy,
Right.
actually get an education to help a client win. They just sell a product and get a commission.
Commission breath.
Mission breath.
Let me ask you this because you spoke offset, you just spoken redraw. A lot of people are very confused about the difference between the two. Can you put it in layman's language, the difference between an offset and a redraw? Because I know a lot of people that have got offsets, don't know
Look,
many that have got redraw.
yeah, look, in layman's terms, without drawing pictures, it's very hard to explain, but it's the same. An offset account is a savings account, typically with card access, where if you had a $500,000 loan and you had $50,000 in an offset account, the bank legally is meant to say that you only pay interest on the difference. So 500 minus the 50 in savings, they only charge and calculate interest on the differential of the two being 450,000. The problem is who's got 50,000 laying around? And if you've got 500 and it's in your offset account when you get paid, most of us tap, and we tend to spend. Human beings are impulsive. We spend what we have direct access to. And you know this yourself, Kerry, from everyone you meet in my community at live events. When people stop using offset,
Yep.
right? And spending everything in it and pretending they're saving and blah blah blah. When they put it in redraw, in 3 to 4 months, every client I've ever done this with reduces their mortgage principal more than they did in the entire year before they met me. You've
Yeah.
met them. You've
Yeah.
met David and Jackie and Alex and Mary and Jeremy and me, the Adam and like the list goes on, right? You meet all those people all the time. And they're absolutely gobsmacked. Like, we can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
Because if you give yourself a weekly spending plan, now that sounds okay. If I said weekly budget, everyone just tuned off your YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Don't
if I
use
give
that
my
swear word
so,
on my channel, G.
yeah, so because if I give myself a weekly wine amount, a weekly eat dining out amount, a weekly like food, fuel, and fun, right? That's cool. But if I say the word budget, everyone freaks out.
Yeah.
But call
Goes
it,
back to that mindset. It goes back
yeah,
to,
it's on the artwork on the wall that
yeah.
budget's a dirty word, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So look, the system is so broken and
Hmm.
it's not fair. And if we don't get smarter as a society, they are going to absolutely beat us to death with a stick. And that stick is knowledge is power. So,
Okay. And speaking of knowledge being power and the the spending thing, where do people stuff up in that area?
yeah, I've got a lot of people, Kerry, and you watch this on events, they're like, oh, but I've got a spreadsheet. Congratulations. It's in your internet banking. Putting it in a spreadsheet does nothing different. That is post-fact evidence of how fucking bad you are with your money. So most people I know, Kerry, extract everything in a CSV from their internet banking,
Yeah.
put it in a spreadsheet and go, I spent this last year, my rates, my this, my that, and that's their budget. No, that's evidence of last year's catastrophic spending.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Think about it. People
Right.
go, well, last year is so somewhere along in life when you get mortgages and spouses and kids, people go off and go, oh, I've got to download. What did we need to spend last year? And then they formulate that as their budget. That isn't a budget. And then they blend it all in together. And then because they spend everything they earn and they buy mocha chocolates and croissants and muffins, and oh, we need a holiday. We're so fucked. We're so tired. I had somebody DMing me the last few nights. They're like, oh, we can't afford to pay any extra, but because it's so important to go on our holidays every year. And I'm like, how many holidays? They're like, we take 3 holidays a year, 2 overseas. Like
Wow.
twice a year they go overseas and one in Australia. I'm like, hang on, these people are spending probably 30 grand a year across those 2 to 3 holidays, international twice, and they're telling me they can't afford to pay minimum payments on the mortgage. Clearly, you're spending everything you earn all year and then get to the end of the year and put a holiday on a credit card and then have to pay. Like, it's fucking upside down. Now, here's the problem. Ready?
Yes.
Instant gratification.
Aha.
Because you talked there, I grabbed mine as well. Because everything is accessible at our fingertips, right? So people pick on Gen Y. It's not Gen Y, it's Gen I see, I want, I purchase.
Now. Yep.
I zip pay, afterpay, lay by. What's that? Lay by. That's a weird word. I haven't heard layaway or lay by for years, right? I mean, I know, single mum. I know we're going to Kmart and she picked my toys and we had to lay by that. And then we always had to extend the lay by and extend. And sometimes we ended up having to cancel the lay by and they penalize you and you'd only get some of the money back.
Yeah. I
Right?
remember that. Yep.
Remember lay by? They had a lay by counter at the back of the store.
And now they've flipped it around saying, we don't want you to wait. You can have it in advance. And then these poor people are getting the now not only that,
But,
Graeme, they're not only taking one out, they're going, I'm going to take a zip pay and a this pay and
but
a
Kerry, we've created a false economy. So you know how they were building and building and building properties in China and they had this
yeah,
false thing and the Evergrande and then this big development company, they were just building to keep the economy going.
correct.
Yeah. So what we've done is gone, people can't afford it. They used to chip away at it until they could actually own it. No, we've created a false economy on credit because now you can go buy new Michael Jordan shoes or Dunks. Do you know
Sure.
you can go to Rockpool Bar and Grill and put it on Zip Pay, or you can go to a fancy restaurant and put it on Afterpay?
Are you serious?
I
Whoa.
swear on my life, you can
Wow.
Afterpay at fancy restaurants now. Now, I understand as a treat for an anniversary once a year or something, somebody might be struggling, but why can't you stop buying a $6 coffee every day and save for a month to do that?
Yeah.
To see what, like, there
Well,
is zero delayed gratification. I'll go further to prove this point. We don't have any tradesmen and women in Australia. And guess what's going to happen? I promise you, actually, there's a union strike in Brisbane at the moment. They want the minimum entry level to be $240,000 a year for someone on a construction site. Now, I'm sorry, that is filthy. When nurses and teachers who it's like nurses saving lives, or some doctors and nurses don't earn that. Now, and then we've got a housing cost crisis, construction crisis, homeless people, but we want to give a laborer, yes, it's dangerous work. I'm not picking on the industry, right? $240,000.
The unions have got them over a barrel.
I hope not. You know what they should do? Cool, strike. We'll get a bunch of people that want to earn the 150, 120, 180, whatever the income is. It's a great income compared to people with HECS debt and 4 to 6 years of university studies to save lives. They aren't getting that money. But so what's going to happen, Kerry, is we're going to have a big shift in society where everyone wants to be insta famous and like they've won Monopoly, and these vanity metrics of social media, and kids with fake rented cars selling drop shipping courses and foreign currency, all this bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what's going to be the cool thing soon, to be a tradesperson. We're going to end up paying gazillions of dollars, because I'm not very handy. I'm like an ashtray on a motorbike,
Me
but I'm
too.
going to have to pay gazillions of dollars soon for someone to fix a light bulb or to put oil in my car. You know,
But
like,
why has it got to this, Graeme? Why has it got to the fact that our nurses and our doctors, etc., those frontline, really? But this is tradies. So are you saying that what I'm
well,
asking is why is it so expensive?
let's go somewhere a bit naughty.
Okay.
When a young lady or a young man or old can get on an app, I think it's called OnlyFans, and they can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month doing pornography, where has our society ended
Yeah,
up?
true. Yeah.
Like there are nurses, teachers, there's people leaving careers, and that tells you that us as society, or a section of us, are spending all their money on subscriptions to things like that and gambling. Do you know how
Gambling's
many
huge.
families I meet, Kerry? Gambling,
Yeah.
alcohol, drugs, porno. Once you're in one of these areas, a lot of them get trapped in all of them. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I see clients' bank statements. I see all these subscriptions, right? It is absolutely
I'm
horrific.
not blushing, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing to worry about here. I don't have any of those subscriptions. I'm of a certain age. I'm not taking
I seen only gold. What's only gold?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Only gold or property. That's all we do. That's all we do.
But
But
seriously, like, where are we headed as a society if we're going to pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars for a job so they can spend most of it on stuff like that? Now, I'm sure there's heaps of family men and women in construction that need good incomes, but nurses doing 12-hour shifts, police officers getting punched, spat on, shot, stabbed, first responders, paramedics doing 12-hour shift. Like, come
okay,
on.
so what's the answer? I mean, I hear what you're saying, G, and I understand what you're saying. Is there a quick fix, or do you think we're going to have to go through a whole heap of pain? Because you and I both have talked about this before.
Mm,
That separation, I guess, that those that have a lot and those that have nothing, there is no
mm,
middle class anymore. Homelessness is getting bad. There's talk about, oh, if you're an investor in the property market, you're a bad person because you should be giving it all. That's why we've got the problem.
mm.
So
Look, there's no easy fix. I mean, one of us would be prime minister or ministeress if we knew, but there's a couple of things that I think that would really go a long way.
okay.
I think given the money we spend on caucus, AUKUS, billions of dollars, whatever it is, hundreds of millions here, money offshore, we've done a lot for immigration and setting family, all this stuff, right? Um, if you think about that and go, hang on a minute, where does it all start? Well, it all starts at school and
Hmm.
in the home. So, what children are learning in society is where it all starts.
Hmm.
Now, I can go teach financial literacy at schools, but if those children get home and running and they're excited as a teenager, say, hey, mum and dad, I listened to this G bloke today who was a housing commission kid. He would come from nothing. He's this and did that, and I'm going to go learn this and stuff. And the parent's going to say, oh, what a load of shit. It's a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hmm.
So it has to start with education, but it also has to start with all of us. If we are accepting enough to continue to live in the metaverse and become dumber and dumber and dumber
Yep.
and ignorant to the facts and only be fed in an algorithm what keeps us addicted, we're going to have big problems. Now, I think some things would be really simple as some of these thoughts, Kerry. If we want to fix the education system, I think that they could do a few things. One, they could have a system whereby if you study to be a teacher or an educator, they should
No
actually
hex.
clear, if you get accredited and get a job,
Yep.
they should clear your HEX debt.
He's
Okay.
the Prime Minister so far. Keep going.
So if
Love it.
somebody is prepared to study nursing, first responding, paramedic, if somebody is prepared to have no income or low income and flip burgers part-time or whatever it is they do, whilst they study something that contributes so much value to society that we struggle to staff, they should clear that HEX debt. Nursing, all that. Now, sure, there's levels to this stuff, but also teaching. I think if we made the minimum salary for educators 240,000 like a construction laborer. Imagine the caliber, Kerry, of people trying to become teachers.
But how do we pay for all of this?
Well, sadly, taxes. We're one of the most heavily taxed countries in the world.
Exactly.
You pay tax on your income, you pay tax contributing to your retirement money, you pay GST when you buy stuff. They're like we
We are
get
so
taxed on
heavily
tax.
taxed.
We are one of the most heavily taxed countries in the world, right?
You're
In
now just
civilization.
suggesting we pay frontline like teach. And look, I agree. I think teachers are the most important thing, but the taxpayer pays for the teachers.
But they could do. They
What?
could stop funding detention camps that we never used in COVID at Well Camp for hundreds of millions of dollars, or not being politically, but we spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a resource or an asset that was never used. No one ever slept there in
Nope.
Queensland, right?
Yep.
Or we're doing a submarine deal for the military. Cool. We need, and then we just shit can the whole thing and we've burnt hundreds of millions of dollars. Like
True.
there is so much shit that governments spend money on. If you went back to the root cause, which is education, right? And then valued roles, everything's valued in society. We need everyone, right? But if you went back to the root cause, it's education. If we can get the kids right and some of the kids start overcoming the households, it's a generational change. This actually, let's be honest, it can't change over one term of politics. It can't change in one generation because if you go back, we're really feeling the effects now. If I go back, I don't think I was ever on social media until I got the first iPhone in 2007,
It
roughly
was
at the beginning.
2007. Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning of the GFC. And then
Yep.
I got the iPhone, but I didn't have social media. I got it maybe a year or two later. So really, it hasn't been that long that society's gone down the pisser because go back pre 2007 GFC, I knew tradesmen, lawyers, teachers, sales staff. I didn't know anyone as an influencer, a digital marketer. Again, we've created another economy. That's awesome. But, people weren't quitting careers to make money doing OnlyFans. People weren't
Sorry. Let me just say this as well, that people were not quitting jobs to do things which are not producing anything apart from content. It's
bingo.
very important to say.
Bingo. So people now want to make a career out of producing content. And most of that content is not of any value to anyone.
Correct.
So you got to be careful about the content you consume, the podcasts you consume. So look, back to I think if the minimum salaries for required areas of expertise like nursing, medical, paramedics,
Sure.
military, educate, if they went up substantially, you would find an influx of people aspiring to be those people. But what you're hearing now is the opposite. There's a massive outflux of nursing. There's a massive people leaving industries like that. First responders getting in, paramedics. So police force, like we lose more than we get in. So at what point do we go, you know what? We see the problem, we identify it. It's going to take 2 generations to fix, but here's
Then
the
let's start.
roadmap.
Yes.
Here's the blueprint. It starts in the home and with the children at school.
It
So our
definitely starts at
education
home.
curriculum has to change. And parents have to take some accountability or involvement in the education of their children.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we got a little bit of that goes back to the alcohol, drugs, pornography side of things as well. We got to fix the families. We've got to make sure that there's
And
things. Now,
it's
look,
very, very hard to fix the kids if we don't fix the families because the kids will get told it's rubbish, it's crap, don't aspire to be anything, all that sort of nonsense.
yeah, we got to fix the families. Now, gee, that's a topic I could probably spend 2 hours on, but I want to make sure that I give our community some really interesting value from you in terms of, I've got a couple of questions for you, just switching a
Sure.
little here. And that is, right now, the lamestream media, as I call it, they're trying to strike fear into a lot of people, and a lot of people watch it, listen to it, and get fearful of what the future is. Now,
Mm.
I hate to use swear words with you, G, but I will. The inflation, people are fearful of that. The current housing crisis. I'd love to get your views on where you come from with this.
Yeah, so first things first, I've said this in a few podcasts. The next person to hear talk about inflation needs to give themselves a fucking uppercut. I
That's
will
why I
swear.
said it was a swear word.
To give you something statistically proven, Dr. Andrew Wilson does this on my Wilson Weekly on my podcast. Inflation has directly correlated with and fallen in line with oil prices, fuel being one of the substantial costs of living in a basket of goods to measure inflation, blah, 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 blah. So wars, oil price, fuel, that's what's been dictating inflation in Australia and pretty much America for the last few years. Now, yes, the cost of living has gone up. In America, you can negotiate your pay every day, pretty much. In Australia, with our employment law, it's like you have an employment contract, it's perhaps an annual review, it's like a lease on your home, right? Well, rates went up 13 times. Then tenants whinged when they got huge, huge rent hikes. Now, to be fair, the owners are taking all the risk because you spend all your money with Gucci shoes with bees on them. Because before the living crisis occurred, you were blowing all your money and not considering saving a deposit.
Yeah.
Now it's hard to save a deposit, you're whinging. So, i.e., due to your own decisions and circumstances, you're upset at your own action or inaction. So, yes, inflation is a scary thing and it's important to measure. However, guess who's creating the inflation outside of oil prices? We are. We don't have a budget. We're
Yeah.
spending everything we earn. I see, I want, I get, I afterpay, I credit card, I zip pay, I store pay. We are creating the own rod for our back through COVID,
Well
right?
said, G. Absolutely right. And no
If
one gets that.
if we want to stop inflation,
Stop
stop fucking
spending.
spending. Go to the park with your family. Get off your fucking phone. Get your head out of social media and do something with your family, with your kids, with your partner, go to the gym, whatever. But stop spending money online. Stop going to the shops because you're bored. Stop downloading and subscribing to shit online. Like, we can actually fix this, but you know what? We won't.
No.
Ignorance is bliss.
And the government is there here to save me because I'll probably get a handout. I mean, I know in Queensland, I think the government's it's an election year, so they're going to hand out $1,000 for some free electricity for a few months. $1,000 off. Well, that comes from taxpayers as well. So I think
And this is the problem. You got to remember, Kerry, everything that we hear from any political party is to win votes. It
correct.
is not, I repeat, it is not to benefit families in Australia. It is wholly and solely to win votes. Every action. I'm sure politicians got into politics to help people and they were really passionate about it. But once they get to the top, it's all about staying in power.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you watch them argue like bloody school kids.
Yep.
They're getting paid to carry on like pork chops in
Yep.
Canberra, right? I'm
Yep.
sure they got into it with passion at some point and purpose, but I mean, at the moment, not much purpose happening, not much passion, just a lot of paychecks.
Speaking of passion, what drives you, Graeme? Why? I want to find out, why do you have this burning desire to fight for the everyday punter? Because you are changing the system and you are waking people up, in my opinion, not fast enough, because there's been such a
Mm,
it's so ingrained over generations,
mm,
and the banks are making too much money. They don't want you to find out, but it's almost like you're opening Pandora's box. But what keeps driving you don't need the money. I
mm.
mean, I'm gonna he owns a few houses. He is financially fine. I'm not going to say the other word, but he doesn't need to do what he does. But I want to know, what drives you to do this.
It's an interesting question, but I mean, look, I can comfortably, it's not to be facetious, like I don't need to work anymore. Beck and I are really comfortable, but still here with the team every day, having a laugh, having a lot of fun. But it's deeply seated, Kerry, that it's just fucked. It's so broken. And I genuinely, authentically want to create the biggest reformation of wealth transfer in the history of Australia, like ever. Like
Wow.
that's my legacy play. Like look, I'll go back a step. So growing up, single mom, domestic violence, 6-month-old baby, blah, 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 terrible stuff. And it makes you or breaks you, right? Now, I don't know if you remember Black and Gold, which was the old home brand, like Jewel. We had
Oh
Jewel and
yeah, black and gold. I remember.
okay,
Yeah, I
so
do.
so I just want to go back to, and it's not a sob story here, but we used to have the Salvation Army and some Vincents de Paul, and electricity would get disconnected in our 1-bedroom flat, and they would come out and they give you a hamper, and the food hamper was basically black and gold tin food. I'm talking
Wow.
home brand spam, baked beans, spaghetti. It was mostly non-perishable items you could store. They'd chock your cupboard with tin food, right? So that's what I'd eat a lot of tin food or 2-minute noodles. That's why I say I'm the 2-minute noodle Hauso cookbook king, right? And they would reconnect our electricity because we were in arrears and they'd pay the bill. And that's why I donate to a lot of these services. There are people out there below the poverty line, skipping meals, no heating, no cooling, no, and I remember as a child multiple times, which no child should remember, those welfare meetings or when mum and I had to get public transport to the Salfos to meet with the department they call welfare, to show the bills, to tell the story, to be given hampers and food and have bills paid for us. And I remember family friends coming around worried about us and taking mum and I out for a hamburger and chips. And I remember eating so quickly that I vomited afterwards because I was so hungry for a day or two. And that's not mum's fault. She did a fucking amazing job, right? But that stuff on my whiteboard, on my chalkboard, on my artwork mural on the wall, that stuff there is a lot of people in society in different levels. Okay.
Yep.
And you know me, I can't let go. That I cut a lot of cords in my life, but that cord is
That's a
chains,
pretty big one.
anchors around my ankles,
Yep.
and that's pulling me down. And I'm not going to quit. You can't beat someone who doesn't quit. So I have this deep-seated thing now for contribution. I've done well. I'm very lucky. It was fucking hard, and I don't wish it upon anyone to go on the journey I've gone on. It's not for everybody. I'm a lunatic, but my thing now is contribution. I was giving away 20 grand on a podcast recently,
Oh, I heard this. Yes.
but I didn't give away the 20 grand.
No, you didn't.
I gave away 50. And I remember Dan was sitting with me, Kev, and he goes, we had to edit it. He was like, what the fuck? Like, he was freaking out. And then off camera, we had to edit. He goes, gee, in your tax bracket, you've got to earn 100 to give someone 50. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. Because, bro, like, people don't earn that. And I'm not saying this to be facetious, Kez,
No.
but like, when you can give back, you could give me an extra $10 million this year and it won't change shit for me about how I feel. Let me give away $1 million or help people save me. Oh, fuck. I'm like,
You're pumped.
I'm emotional thinking about it.
Oh,
Right. And I know that getting a present from the Kmart wishing tree appeal one year from a stranger I never ever met, knowing that that lit me up. That's why I do it every year. And you've been there with me. I get
yeah.
emotional about it. So
Yeah.
for me, that Robin Hood scenario, it's like, yeah, I've got a lot of ego and front, and people go, the arrogance of this guy. Well, when you are the best at something and you're really passionate, you deeply care, and people can lie, but numbers don't. You have thousands of clients like I do with actual results like yourself. I can let that be professional ego because
Yes.
it's not debatable. It's not an opinion, it's fact.
Fact.
Yeah. So for me, I just have this deep-seated thing is that I'm not going to stop banging the drum. I'm not going to stop beating the drum and waving the flag because we can actually, maybe I can't break the system, but I can reshape the system. And if I can't break the system or reshape the system, I can reshape a massive section of society, which is what I'm doing right now. 4,000 people plus partners, I guess, a lot of them, maybe 7,000 people
Yeah.
on a Tuesday night helping me reshape them.
Because
Thousands.
right now is when there's so much pain out there, which is why I wanted to bring you back on this time. Hopefully it won't be too long till the next time, because I need people to hear this. I need them to hear it again and again and again. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen out there, I don't care whether you're earning 20,000 a year or 1 million a year. You all need to start to wake up. And I would urge all of you, just, take the ego, park it outside the room, do one of the calls that Graeme does for free on a Tuesday night. I'll put the link down below, and I want you to log on. I want you to listen, and then I want you to take it one step further. There's nothing in this. I don't work for infinity. It's just he's helping change my life. And that's what as much as he's passionate and has so much knowledge, I'm passionate about helping him
And,
share this because it's
and
time
I
to give
and I
back.
will say, Kez, and I appreciate you saying that. You've seen some of the messages. I share them on my social media stories. A lady's $48,000 ahead of her loan in 6 months after doing that free Tuesday webinar. She's not my client. She's not paid me any money, but she's paid me in
Oh, but be
gratitude.
careful.
She paid me in gratitude. Like, and I said, do you mind if I share this message? So I screenshot it before I respond. So do you mind if I, she's like, no, absolutely, please. And I'll just redact their names. You see me do it every
Yeah,
night,
I
right?
do. Yeah.
Now, to think that I can help that family who they've told me they were literally not in a position to even refinance. But guys, some hot tips. Print your statements out just for 3 months. Get the highlighters. Look at all your. You will feel sick when you can have a face to face with yourself. This is step one tip, Kerry.
Yeah, I was
Go
going to
through.
ask you for 3 tips. So let's
So
do,
let's go step one.
yep.
Print at least 3 months of statements, old school, not look at it on a computer or phone. Print them out. Yeah. Go through with a green highlighter and a pink or orange or green, good and bad, like groceries, good. But what I want people to do is go, I want you to highlight it in a different color, like Monday to Sunday. I want you to do a line and do it in blocks. And I want you to see when your pay goes in, it's green. And then I want you to see all the food you did for the week. Grocery shop, $300, Nando's, Macca's, KFC. And I go, shit, I spent $600 on groceries and takeaway. What are you buying fucking groceries for if you eat out 3 meals a day? Right. So, number one, I want you to tally up on your statement what you're spending in a week and encode it and write it off to the side, draw a line at that week. Go to the next week, go to the next week. And Kerry, I promise you, nearly everyone is spending everything they earn
And some.
and some. Then you go to your credit card and do the same and you realize why you're backwards, right?
Yep.
So no, you got more than one account, do it on all accounts. You got credit cards, do the same 3 month period. Everyone, please, if you listen to this, go and do it. Yeah, that's step one.
Step one.
Step two, time to get real and grow up because now you've identified what hit your bank account for that period of time and what went out. And if there isn't a difference between those two, you have got a massive, massive, serious problem.
Okay.
Now, we've gone through and audited ourselves. We've identified a problem. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Take action.
Okay.
Now, the first part of taking action, Kerry, is going to be having an honest conversation with yourself or your partner if you have one around, am I prepared to change? Because right now, I don't believe there's a better way. It's all so tough. Bullshit. You just identified you spend 50% of your wage on shit.
Yeah.
So now, if we're prepared to go, I could make some changes. I'm not perfect. Yeah. Okay. Let's say that you blow $500 a week. You're in a really good position and you blow $500 a week. Why don't we start with halving it? Why don't you prove to yourself that you can stop blowing $250 a week? Just start at half. And let's do that for 30 days. Let's do it for 1 week. Let's do it for 7 days. 7 days. And at the end of it, we put that 250 aside and only function with what you got. And at the end of it, you go, shit, I did it. Okay, let's do 350 next week. Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and treat it as a game, like baby
I do.
steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby steps. And then eventually you'll get to the 500, you'll stop blowing it and you'll be a structured human being. You'll have a new habit. Then you'll realize, shit, I got 20, 25, 30 grand a year net of tax that I can pay off my loan. I can go on holidays. I can invest. How do I know? I've got thousands of clients that have completed this exercise just as you have.
Yeah.
So I'd say to people, first step, audit yourself honestly. Then you need to admit there's a problem. And then we need to take action. And to take action, we just develop a plan. Hey, okay, we're not black and white people. Like say you're not red, like I'm full on, right? I would just stop it immediately, do a tight budget and stop. For people that want to ease into things, don't want the shock value. All right, let's save $100 a week. Put that over there and don't touch it. At the end of the week, I'm still alive. Shit, maybe I lost a kilo. I laid off the Hungry Jacks at Macca's, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is good for me and I'm
Double
alive.
winner. Double winner.
Winner. So, because they're the first couple of
Yeah.
steps, right? Audit yourself, be honest with yourself. Let's execute a new plan, even just in baby steps.
Yeah.
Now,
Gee,
once you get baby steps done, you realize it's possible, and and you're not okay. You're happier and wealthier and probably healthier. Then you can go look for some advice.
and less stressed as well. Gee, so look, that was a fantastic conversation that we've had. I could go on for hours, but this is why I'm going to try and get you back on again. Actually, I'm not going to try. I'm going to get you back on, because try, ladies and gentlemen, is one of those bad words. It's like, I can't afford. You can. Make sure that you manage your mindset, manage your language, because those are two things that you've also got to do, along with everything that G's told you today. This is all about making money matter, because if you don't make it matter, it won't matter at all, and then you're going to be in trouble. Graeme Holm, the founder of Infinity Group Australia. I'm going to put all the links down below so that people can find you. I would like to give you my deep gratitude, because I've had a fantastic time once I took action. But I know how busy you are. I appreciate your time. Thanks for so much
My
for being on.
My pleasure. I just want to say, Kerry, it really lights me up to see your journey and to be a small part of it. So proud of you. Congratulations. And I love the fact that you're not just a client, you're actually beating this drum and waving the flag and putting out information for other people. So props to you, and anyone who's on the channel, give Kerry some love, because whether you love me or hate me or you get value from it, she's an inspirational woman who really wants to see people do well. And she's doing well. She doesn't need to share that with people. So massive kudos to you, and thanks for having me.
Okay, like this video, go like it, share it, send it out to as many people as possible, because both Graeme and I are passionate about what we do, making money matter. Thanks so much, Graeme.
Thanks, Kerry.